Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us for our Travel Matters webinar series. Extremely grateful to be joined with Andrew Motiwalla today for this session. So I'll give everyone just a few minutes to grab a coffee, beverage of choice, get settled. I see there's a couple of people still pulling in, so we'll give everyone just another minute or two before we officially kick it off. Andrew, where are you calling in from today? Where are you joining us?
I'm in sunny San Diego, California.
Nice. That's awesome. Has the weather been good this week?
It's been pretty warm, a little warmer than I'd like, but in San Diego, we're spoiled. Like we're Goldilocks. A little too hot, we complain. A little too cold, we complain. We like it to be just perfect pretty much
Just
every day of
right.
the year. Yeah.
No, I mean, I've spent a little bit more in time in California. Given I'm from Canada originally, I'm used to like crazy weather patterns, but I understand why Californians like there is a reason why there's a lot of people who love it there. The weather pretty generally is pretty nice. Those sunsets, seriously
Can't beat
amazing.
them. Can't
Can't
beat
beat
them.
them. Yeah, the colors and everything. It was amazing. Spent some time there before my trip to Bali in May this year. It was also great. Just great weather.
Nice.
Love it. Well, everyone, I think we have a pretty stable audience right now, so we'll let people pull in as they come. But I want to get started because I am really excited to have the opportunity to welcome to our Travel Matters webinar series. I'm Lynn. I'm a travel specialist with Discover Corps. And before I introduce myself and to our guest, Andrew, just want to tell you that this series is all about exploring transformative power of travel through conversations with inspiring leaders and change makers. Today, I'm especially excited to be joined with our founder, Andrew. And really, Andrew was the vision behind Discover Core and helped us build this foundation to what we see today and what I get to work in Monday to Friday. It's an amazing company dedicated to creating these travel experiences. And Andrew, I'm just super excited. I got to meet you in Cuba on my first day on the job, and I remember connecting with you. And yeah, really excited to get to know you better.
Great. Thanks for having me,
Um,
Lynn. Appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. So I really want to kick it off with just getting to know a little bit more of the origin story of Discover Core and where your head was at, Andrew. Like where was your vision in building, this brand that really has focused on uh, transformative travel and really going, beneath the surface of the destinations that you're visiting to.
Sure, sure. I think to understand Discover Core, we need to zoom out a little bit more and look at the broader context of sort of what I was up to in life. So really briefly, at one point in my career, I went to the Peace Corps and I was volunteered in Central America for 2 years. And then I got into service volunteer related travel after that. And at some point, I started Terra Education, the kind of parent company of Discover Corps. But the first program we did was actually student travel, student volunteer travel. And that came from my experience with the Peace Corps, thinking, wow, how can we take young people to go overseas and learn firsthand about social issues? And that was our student travel division. And that was many years ago when I was much younger, as you can see in all these photos. Well, this one's a little bit closer, but I've aged quite a bit since then as well. But around that time, after a number of years of student travel, I had my kids. My kids were getting to an age where reality was kind of infringing on their innocent childhood. Suddenly there was social media and then telephones and connectivities, and they were starting to, they could understand what was happening in the world. And I thought, this is the moment where I need to take my kids out and not just go lay on the beach for a week for vacation, but I really want to share with them my values of global citizenship, my values of appreciation of other cultures. And I thought, how do we do that for the families? And also, I mean, honestly, as a parent, uh, I just don't, I wanted my kids to realize the world is so much bigger than this
Mhm.
little. these cliques and these dynamics at school. They think, oh, this kid doesn't like me or this, or they see things on their phone and, oh, these kids have everything. And they think this is the world. And that's not the
Mhm.
world. The world is so much bigger. So I wanted to get my kids away from technology and see how big the world is and see how beautiful it is, and also the challenges and also the beauties and successes of real people around the world. And um, so we kind of took the model of the student volunteer travel and we created Discover Corps. Of course, it's kind of playing off of the name of Peace Corps, which is an experience that was near and dear to my heart. And that was really the start of it. It was sort of a family volunteer travel.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so beautiful to hear that you've created the brand over like a time that a lot of people experience, or that experience of like deciding like how do I really teach my kids in a more meaningful way. And I was a direct like recipient of those programs. I went to India when I was 13, and that changed the trajectory of my life, and how together as a family we travel now. It's like going not going to the resorts, not laying on the beach, actually just engaging with the local people, seeing how they live, and exactly getting taken out of your bubble and being able to place you somewhere else and learn and connect deeper. It is what is I think a lot of people can relate to that experience as a family and at that time in your life. What were some of the first destinations that you like sent, your travelers, your interested families or people
Yeah.
to? Where were the countries that you focused on?
Again, so in these early days, remember, we were very focused on sort of volunteer travel for families.
Right.
Obviously it's evolved a bit more since then. We can talk about that later. But so we focused in on destinations where it was very service heavy. I think Guatemala was one of our first trip, and we're talking, I don't know, almost like 15 years ago now. Um, is Guatemala, the Dominican Republic, and Thailand. I remember in Dominican Republic, we worked with some projects where we were building houses out of recycled, like discarded plastic bottles. And we had it in such a way that the kids could help and adults could help, and we had a foreman there, kind of guiding everyone, so everyone could be part of these really cool projects. And we have local people working on these projects as well. Same thing in Guatemala. Um, yeah, and that was the first those first years.
Someone in the chat already asked, what years are we talking? Can you date us a little bit
Oh,
to the first program?
oh, I don't know. You young people, I mean, my brain does not do well with math and numbers
Backwards
anymore.
math.
Yeah, backwards math.
I guess
So,
13 years ago, though, I think 13 or going on
so,
13 years.
so if you can do the math for me, Lynn, that would be much
I
appreciated.
guess it would be, let's see, 20. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking? It's 2025. So 2012? Yeah.
Yep,
20.
around there.
Mhm.
Um, as you get older, everything sort of blurs together, and it's hard to
You're a
piece out
busy
the
guy.
different segments of your
It's
life.
okay. Yes. You're up to a lot, so we won't blame you for it.
All
Don't worry.
right.
Yeah, no, so 13 years ago for the person who asked in the chat. Definitely over a decade. But yeah, the first program was Guatemala, and I made sure to double check in the books. And it's pretty cool because it's the newest trip we actually just relaunched. So anyone who's on the call that signs up for our email list and learns about the new destinations that we have going out, we just launched Guatemala again as a Antigua getaway trip. So a little bit different than I'm sure your first version of the trip was, but it's cool to see like where it's at in today's day and how it still matches our style of intentionality and getting to see a place more behind the scenes than what you would typically see on a tour bus, or it really does try to still maintain those relationships with the local partners and communities. So I thought that was a fun fact too, that like it was our first program. It went away for a bit. We've refined it, redone it, and created it in a state that still matches, I think, our initial intentions of what you built the company to be, which is really nice. So what was the initial response? Because obviously I work with our travelers. I get to hear what they are experiencing on a week-to-week basis around the world with us. But I'm curious for you, like, what was that initial response? Who were you talking to? What did the family say about their first trip to Guatemala or, Dominican Republic, Thailand?
Yeah. So what we found, and this sort of spurred us on to evolve the model over time. What we found is there was usually one parent who was gung-ho about volunteering, and maybe it's like at one time I thought, I would have loved to join the Peace Corps and want to show my kids and all these kids, they need to get out of this environment, they need to go connect, realize how privileged they are and go out and connect with kids, who live in different circumstances. But there was always the other parent who was like, yeah, yeah, that's very nice. But honestly, I really like staying at the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton. And this volunteering thing, oh, I'm taking a week off
Sure.
of work. I think I would like to do a little more, So what we realized is if we're gonna work with families, right? If we're going to work with families, and families in the largest sense of the word, right? Because we sometimes have aunts that take the nephew or niece on a trip. We have sometimes one parent takes one kid and another parent sometimes there's grandparents involved and grandkids and kids in the middle, right? So there's family is a big term. What we realize is if you want to work with families, you have to have itineraries that are flexible enough to accommodate the different needs of people, right? The kids do not want to hear a lecture from a biologist for an hour. They want to be going and doing things and learning and running. And
Hmm.
whereas like some parents might be wrong, please tell me more about the biology of X, Y, and Z, right? So how do you accommodate all these different needs and modalities for communicating information? Um, and so that as well as just levels of comfort, right? And levels of desire, like what amount of volunteerism is right, what amount of luxury is right, what amount of education is right. So I thought of it, I had this visual of like a sliders on a music mixing board. And it's like how much of each thing should be pushed up and down. Um,
Hmm.
but so that was the big realization. Families require a different way of thinking about it when you work versus working with just one specific group, right? My experience had been
Sure.
working with students to go to a very
Mhm.
specific thing. Everything can be tailored to them. But now it's almost like three different audiences at once.
At once. Yeah, absolutely. And I like the how you said it, like dialing it up. And I feel like certain itineraries, certain elements are still dialed up more than others. And that was a question in the chat right now, which was like, why do some trips have community service aspects and others do not? And I think it's also, and correct me if you have anything else to add, but it's also adapting to the community's needs and what the community is saying they can be able to like host us or be able to work with us. And in some communities, there's more um, sort of opportunity to do that in a way that's consistent in the experience as well, and the type of value that's being added to both for the families, but also for the communities, because that's what we're trying to also do is make that impact. So I think, some communities, there's just more of that ability to do those service aspects, and others, it's more appropriate for us to do maybe something different, like a hands-on workshop or a cooking class, or still engage with the local community, but we're not necessarily doing like a hands-on service aspect. I don't know if you have anything else to add though, Andrew.
Yeah, I think the thing to think about, and I've thought about volunteerism in travel for most of my career, and the thing that I think holds true is the longer you go somewhere, the more you can help, so to speak, right? The more you
Right.
can do. So in the Peace Corps, I was there for 2 years. I felt like I was doing very little, but I was because to really do things, you need to kind of really become part of the community. You can't just fly and go, oh, you need this, you need that, you need that. That's like the
Mhm.
opposite of what we want to do, right? We want to go become part of the community, work with the community, listen to what the needs are, and say, how can we
And then
contribute
implement.
something? And the shorter of time you go, the more kind of constrained the amount of things you can do it, right? So the ideal, of
Right.
course, is if you can go for a few weeks and plug into an existing project, that the project is like an ongoing thing. but you
Hmm.
have this very well-defined role, like you do this. But
Yeah.
one of the things, now I visited our projects with the student travel, with Discover Corps, I visited them all over the world. And the one thing I always hear is, I'll give you an example. I was in Peru and we were with this group for like in a shanty town, a slum area. It was children and old people who were really below the
With
poverty line.
hunger.
And this is just outside of a city. And the director of the organization came to me and said, "Oh, you're the guy who sends us these groups. This has been amazing for us because our people, your guests, Andrew, who come, they treat our workers like rock stars, like everything, and he's like, these people who work for us,
Mhm.
these are like, this is like a low paying job. People from the city don't even come out to visit us. They would never come here. They're like scared of it. It's like poor and dirty. Um, and people in the city, just, 30 minutes away, don't come here. But you have Americans primarily flying over, taking their vacation time to come spend time with these children who don't have families or these elderly who have been abandoned. Like, this is it gives us energy to keep up our work. And so my takeaway from
Mhm.
that was a lot of this is about engaging with the community and being in solidarity with them and
Mhm.
supporting this work that is often not glamorous. It's hard, forgotten work that people in their own communities don't really care about. And I think that being there and engaging in community
Mhm.
support, solidarity, friendship actually goes a huge way. It maybe isn't the helping that we envisioned we would do, but it's
Right.
helping in a very intangible, kind of psychic way of supporting these organizations that are really doing good work around the world.
Right. Yeah, and there's also something to be said again about that financial compensation that sometimes, it just helps these organizations have that extra support economically so they can continue to exist year after year. Because sometimes, I mean, myself who run a social enterprise, like it's hard. It's not easy, right? Having that consistent income always coming in and for us to be able to give that financial like give back of like, hey, we're going to spend 2 hours with you and we're going to pay you to do that so we can learn from you and hear from you and experience what you're doing and learn about your impact, but also give back in a way that is, you know, an economic gain because you need to be able to exist and continue to pay your workers and your people and everything.
But
It's an
where you're
important
going with this too, Lynn,
ecosystem.
is it's really we started the conversation talking about volunteering, right, in nonprofits.
Right.
But and maybe I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but really what we're talking about is a concept of community-based travel, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
if people don't know, travel and tourism is one of the biggest industries in the world when it comes to headcount of people and money, right? Planes and hotel. I mean, you think about how big the travel and
The
tourism industry,
industry.
and it's very
Mhm.
labor intensive. So there's a lot of people. It's not like technology.
Right.
So the way I think about it is there's a fire hose of money that's going through the travel and tourism industry. Now,
Right.
most of that fire hose is just going to these major multinational brands. And then they have like their own kind of the spa, the this, the that,
Hmm.
things where you can spend their money with them and they will then extract it out
Within their spaces. Yeah.
within their spaces. So
Yeah.
for me, the value of Discover Core is working with communities that take that fire hose and then sort of
Mhm.
distribute it into
Distribute it.
little sprinkles all to
Yeah.
other communities that can benefit. So tourism has the potential to really
Hmm.
positively impact the world if you do it right. If you
Yeah.
don't, you're just feeding the beast and the communities are not benefiting and suddenly everything
Right.
becomes expensive around them and these communities aren't able to participate in this new economy that's being created and then they get excluded and marginalized. It ends up not very good for them. So whether it's helping, going to volunteer with the nonprofit organizations and giving some money to support their work, or working with a women's group that's teaching us how to cook, right? It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. It's that using the community in a fair reciprocal relationship that helps benefit the communities, but it also more importantly for our travelers, it's a more authentic experience than if you just walk
Right.
into the cooking class at the Ritz-Carlton. I mean, it's great, it's nice, I'm sure it's tasty, but I think it's a different experience, and it's experience that our Discover Corps travelers would appreciate is to then be with actually a community group that has learned how to do this kind of experiences for our groups.
Right. And I think we play a unique role as well in these small organizations in the sense that, again, this idea of not coming in quickly and being like, you need this. It's actually having taken the time to say, like, what is it? How do you want to engage with us? Is it a hands-on tour? Is it a cooking class? Is it us volunteering and actually lending a helping hand with Mama Simba in Tanzania in her classroom, and just allowing them to tell us and us just like be there to observe, like, what is it like to actually live and do meaningful work that often has this thread of conservation or women's empowerment or something that really helps us become better global citizens overall and inspires us to think about the world differently. And we've talked a little bit about how Discover Corps is different than other travel companies, but if you could say anything else or hone in, what do you think, or how did you see at that time really and Discover Corps being different from other travel companies? Like we talked about the hose, but maybe other people in the space, what were they doing and how were we different?
Yeah, I think the thing that ultimately is different about Discover Corps, because a lot of great, well-meaning, sustainable travel companies are trying to redivert the fire hose of money to communities, and that's
Yeah.
great. I support that 100%. But what's unique about Discover Corps is that every trip has a purpose, right? And a purpose, how we would have said that in the very early days is, around this some kind of volunteer project, right? Or some project
Right.
that we're engaging in some way, whether it's hands-on volunteering or other types of engagement with a local group. That purpose gives you a reason to be there. Why are
Hmm.
you coming why are you coming to this organization? Why are you coming? Are you just trying to drive by and take pictures of poor people? That's not a
Hmm.
purpose. That's a, I think, somewhat exploitative tourism, actually. To just, oh,
Hmm.
hey, okay, we're on a tour.
Yeah.
We
Let
go
me take a
places
photo.
and we look at things and then get back on the bus and it's time to go. Oh, look, we've heard that people want social tourism, so we'll stop here for a half an hour, an hour.
Right.
I don't I don't do that. We don't do that, I don't think, right? We there should be a reason. So for me, volunteerism, community engagement is a vehicle that allows
Mm.
me to have a reason to be there and embedded into a local community or organization or whatever group of people. And they're like, this person is here because of this. They're on a program related to public health or women's empowerment or girls'
Right.
education, right? And they're here to support this organization some way. And we're gonna do something. So the purpose, the idea of a
The
purpose is
vehicle.
so key. And I think that's what a lot of other organizations are missing because it's just still a tour then, right? You're just going
Mm.
to a
Yeah.
bunch of places on a bus and seeing it. That's a different experience.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that difference between there really is a difference between a tourist and a traveler, and the ways in which you interact in those environments are very different. And there is some lines that can be drawn of, what that looks like and where you're staying and who you're meeting and what organizations you're supporting. But I agree, it is that purpose element is a vehicle for us to be able to travel with a little bit more intention and build a little bit more connection with people. Because if you're just stopping by, you're not building any roots, you're not building any real, deepness of understanding of the place and the history and the context. And I think all of our trips that I've gotten to experience have really taught me a lot as well about like the local history, the local context, and therefore I can connect better with the place that I'm seeing and experiencing and having people like welcome me. It's such a precious gift really to be able to make those connections. It really those are the moments that matter and those are the moments that we remember after is the people usually that we're meeting and the connections that were built. Um, I think we've talked about this idea of travel becoming, or this purpose-driven travel becoming more mainstream, and we're seeing it more and more. Do you think the industry will continue to evolve? How have you seen it evolve already? And because I think, like you said, the hose is still very much forward on this typical tourism model where there's a lot of money going towards that. But do you see it continually evolving?
I do. I see a lot of trends in travel, but I think specifically one of the things that you said a few seconds ago is connection to other human beings. You can go
Hmm.
on a tour. I love going on standard tours as well, and I see 10 places with historical references. And a month later, I couldn't remember and tell you the dates or the place. I kind of remember there was a lot of really beautiful buildings and maybe one or two things that stuck with me. But it
Hmm.
just kind of blurs and I don't really remember it. But I remember, I can tell you all about the time when I met the restaurant owner at this place in Valencia, Spain, and he told me about his local cuisine. And I said, I don't know what to order. And he made a bunch of dishes and it was great. And then I talked to this guy in the bar and we had this thing. I remember that night exactly right. Those moments of human connection, I think,
Hmm.
is the direction that travel is going to, because standard tours, um,
Transactional, yeah.
a little transactional, little, hop on the bus, off the bus, etc. And so it's interesting. Steve Case, uh, us old timers who remember him as the former CEO of AOL. It was a thing,
Hmm.
Lynn, many years ago. That's how we all got on the internet. Um, he left AOL and he's gone on to do other things. But one of the things he's involved in is exclusive resorts, Mirabelle resorts, big kind of cutting edge resorts he's creating. And he was at a big travel conference recently, and he said, "We are betting on community. That's where this whole thing is going. And in our resorts, we're trying to foster community in ways that people can have connection with other human beings." And so I
Wow.
think, and this guy is a big mainstream travel conference saying this, and I think this is very much what I'm seeing in my own experience as well. Human connection,
Mm,
and Discover Core is connecting you to local people and groups. That's great. I'm working on
right.
something else with connecting, creating community, but I think human connection is the thing that's going to drive the next wave of travel.
Yeah, I feel like our world with globalization, we went too fast and we forgot that like what really holds us to a place or what is like the most valuable thing is community, is being able to connect with each other, be able to peacefully connect with each other, give back to each other and have reciprocity. And I think we grew really fast and now we're able to travel around the world. We're able to connect, but we don't know how to do it or what spaces to it's not easy to find those spaces, and I'm proud of us as a brand that we can create these spaces to have that cross-cultural communication that um, that does value reciprocity and making sure that we're contributing to the communities in an economic way, in a meaningful way, in a way that's respectful and allows us to get to know each other better overall. Um, yes.
I think also sometimes people ask me when I speak at conferences at times, and people always ask, well, aren't you afraid that travel's kind of gonna fade because now we have VR and YouTube
And
and
AI,
we
yeah.
can go
Hmm.
anywhere in the world through our computer. And I said, that's not the point of travel. It's not to see
Yeah,
all the things. It's the
yeah.
human connection and the diversity of experiences that you can have. And I can't do that just through a computer or a virtual reality. It's not just seeing the sights and checking them off your list.
Totally. No, and I think I could read something, but the second I hear somebody tell me, like, I've been there and I did this, the value of those words from a human being are so different. And especially in the world of AI, where you don't know what you're seeing or what you're reading is always, the most accurate or like that humanness of being able to hear, from somebody their own testimonial and their own words of how that experience changed their life or had a positive impact on them. I think it will, those references will always be wanted. Nobody will just be able to listen to a video and say, like, I've been there, or I've been able to do it. Like, no way. You got to live it. You got to experience it and
You know?
meet the real people behind it. Do you have some fun stories or any early day sort of memories of Discover Core that you want to share with our audience today, Andrew? I had fun looking through all the photos of old Flickr accounts of their 20,000 photos, trying to find Andrew faces in it.
Um, well, I know as a team over the years, we've had a lot of great memories, and we have wonderful people who work at Discover Corps. Some of their faces you see on this screen. You see my
Hmm.
daughters when they were in their early travel years in there as well. And the woman in the middle is not my daughter, but she's a wonderful colleague
Colleague.
at
Hmm. We
Discover
love
Corps.
Angela.
Yeah, and but I think one of the early memories also was we were this is again 13, 14 years ago. Um, we were approached by Rhodes Scholar, which is a really big uh, senior travel company, tour company, and they wanted to create a service travel product. And so they came to us and they sent one of their kind of product managers to the Dominican Republic with me to go like walk through what a trip would look like. And again, this is the early days, right? So it was kind of service heavy, it was a little more intense. And so I took her, we built, started working on building this home, the recycled materials. We took her on one of these hikes. And I remember at this hike, and about halfway, she's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't, you're gonna have to carry me. And so I think our guy in the Dominican started carrying this one or helping her to finish. And we just, it was funny where everyone's laughing the whole time. Even she was
Right.
laughing, and kind of cursing like, Dave, how could you do this to me? Like this was
Yeah.
not.
Who
And then
let
the
you?
local guys just like, oh, it's just a little hill. Like we go up and down this hill all the time, right? But it was also a great reminder of like, yes, you have different audiences. You have to tailor these programs. So, she said, okay, I'm going to work with you guys. We love fundamentally what you do, but we can't do these kind of hikes. We need to, ratchet
Tune it
the
down.
sliders, right? Move the sliders up
Yep.
and down based on the audience that you were. And it was great. We had a wonderful program with Road Scholar, and the people who went on it absolutely loved it. I recently had a talk with I think the head of product over at Road Scholar, and she remembers long. She's like that Dominican Republic trip. People who went on that from Road Scholar loved it. That was amazing. So it
Yep.
turned out to be great. But I remember sort of this all, and I think I was suffering too on the hike and just laughing at the ourselves. But it was a good learning.
Yeah, it is a good learning. It definitely set the tone to, I think, again, the version of who Discover Core is now of just fine-tuning those hikes, fine-tuning those places, making sure that it's an accessible trip for most, active people in general who want to see the world and go, but making sure we're not, we're warning you if we're doing a big hike like we do in Uganda, where you go see the gorillas. We're going to tell you it's going to be up to 6 hours. You are hiking, but not all of our trips are like that. We have a Is This Trip Right For You page that we've really fine-tuned to make sure that we're advocating and letting you know what experience you're getting yourself into so that you have the most enjoyable time, either alone or with others. So I'm super excited about this question because I know you're always up to something cool, Andrew. And every time I've had the pleasure of chatting with you, I get to pick your brain and hear where you're at. So I would love for you to tell our audience about what you've been working on since Discover Core. I know this is not it, but it is the a really cool version of I think where you're at too in your travel sort of experience and brands. So please tell us about the good life abroad.
Yeah, so I officially left Discover Core about 5 years ago. I'm the founder. That can't be taken away, but I
No.
no longer work there. And I created something called the Good Life Abroad, which is as a way. These are actually community-based experiences for people ages 55 and older to live abroad in Europe for 1 to 3 months. And you have your own apartment. It's an independent experience. You have your own apartment. However, you have fellow travel lovers living in the same neighborhood as you or in the same block as you. And we have a local staff, a community manager who puts on activities and events throughout the course of a month. It's a 1 month minimum. So it's for people who've said, I've always wanted to go live abroad And
Hmm.
we've just made it really easy to do that and provided the community of people around you, these, sort of your friends, and you have your community manager, and then you have activities and events like cooking classes, historical walking tours, happy hours, lunches, picnics, different things that you can pop in and out of, and you can make new
Nice.
friends, but you can also go do your own thing, and you're not getting on the bus, off the bus, check into the hotel, check out. It's not a tour. You don't have to get up at 7 in the morning and be stuck with the same
Yeah.
people all day. It's like I show up, we have an
Good time.
architectural thing, we have a good time. A couple hours later, I'm off. I'm gonna go do my own thing. So it's 55 and older. And so these folks, for the most part, are retired or semi-retired. And then they have the time to spend a month somewhere. And it's nice because you don't feel rushed. If I just want to sit at a
Right.
cafe and watch the world go by in Valencia, Spain, I can spend a day doing that and not feel bad. Um, so that's what we're doing, the Good Life Abroad, community-based experiences, 1 to 3 months, and we are expanding all over Europe right now.
Super exciting. I wish I was 65 somehow. I'm like, I want to go be hang out with travel enthusiasts, but I know somebody in the chat just put, that's me. I'm looking at the website right now, which is so cool. I love telling people on the phones as well about the Good Life Abroad. I I see it as the ultimate final way to do travel with purpose, in a way that actually allows you to like you said, get to know a place. You're not just hopping on and off a bus. You really get to live in a place for, at least a month because that's when you get to start to be a local. Like you're going to the same coffee shops, you're going to the same restaurants.
Yeah.
The people are getting to know you, you're getting to know them. And if the cherry on top is having others of like-minded people who are going to be around you and being able to manage how much time you're spending with everyone, I think is a really incredible model that you've built. And yeah, I'm sure there's a couple people in this audience that are creeping the Good Life Abroad website right now and learning more. And we will continue to be a resource here for everyone to connect you. And if for any reason you guys have questions, I will pass it on to Andrew as well. But I do want to open it up actually for questions for people as soon as possible. So if you have something in your head, please. Somebody in the audience wrote, "My mother-in-law participated in the Good Life Abroad in Florence, and it changed her life." Wow, that's amazing. That's so cool. I Man, you'll have to share some of our some more testimonials, Andrew. What are some other stuff going on in the Good Life Abroad? What kind of destinations are you guys doing?
Yep. So we are right now in 18 cities across Europe. Um, so on average, okay, that's not something about age. Our average age is 68.5. On
Mm-hmm.
average, there's about 15 people in a group. About,
Mm-hmm.
um, let's say in a group of, let's say the group is 16, right? You would have four couples on average, so it's 8 people, and then you would have, no, I'm sorry, you would have, scrap the math. 2/3 of our group are couples, and about a third of them are solo travelers. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a really nice mix. They come from across the US, Canada primarily, maybe a small fraction kind of stumble in from Australia or the UK. Um, and we live not in the tourist center of the town, but just outside. So you could walk in 15 minutes or so and kind of see the tourist mess. But
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea of the program is that since you're there for a month, and many people have already been to these cities, like, oh, I've been there before. But yeah, I just saw like the tourist things, right? I kind of did the checkbox travel. Okay, I have to see this cathedral. I've got to see this building, this tower, da da da. And so, those things you can see in a few days. But what's really cool is our local community manager is there to help connect you to things beyond the tourist vibe, right? Like what else is happening in the
Right.
city? And so our community managers actually get to know you and then help you figure out how to make
Connect
the most
together.
of your month there. So, for example, when
Mm-hmm.
I was in Lisbon and she's like, she knows that I like jazz, for example. And she's like,
We
oh,
love chat.
Andrew, there's
Mhm.
a jazz concert by students at the university. It's like a jazz recital. Like, I would not have ever found that. That's not like in the
Right.
tourist guidebook. but she knows I
Right.
like jazz, and she knows, and our local staff, they're connected in with what's happening. So
Yeah.
they're like your local friend. They actually gets to know you. And so then I get to go to cool things. And what's also cool is we have a messaging app for everyone who's in our community. And so it's like I'm in Lisbon, and like, oh, hey, I'm going to this student jazz thing. Who else wants to come? And some of the other people, oh yeah, hey, I'll meet you up. Oh, let's meet
Easy.
up for a drink at our little corner bar that's in our neighborhood where we all live in our apartments, and then we'll go over to the university. So suddenly this community thing is happening, right? And I'm suddenly four other people who like jazz, and I'm connecting with them, and we're talking about jazz concerts we liked in the past, and then we go to the university. It's this whole experience. So it's it's
Yeah.
um it's more than just all these activities and events that we do. The community starts to take on a life of its own, and people connect. And it doesn't matter if you're a solo traveler or if you're a couple. People make lifelong friends here, and it's really beautiful to see.
Is beautiful. And I like the model of right outside of the city center for that exact reason of the sprinkle effect, like let's spread the wealth out. Let's make sure that there's these activations in other little areas that, still deserve the limelight, that still deserve to be seen because there's beautiful things going on in those areas too. And local people who, run local businesses that could benefit so deeply from these types of long-term support as well. It's
It's
really, really,
interesting.
really cool.
In Florence, Italy, actually the mayor really likes our model as well now. And one of
Sure.
the local developers has said, so if people on this webinar have been to Florence, Italy, it's a nice small city. Uh, the Duomo, the big dome, is on one side of the river. And it's all this like beautiful historic stuff. There's a river, and there's the city center, still a historical side on the other side of the river, and the city kind of goes from there. The whole city, the city center, the historical part, you could walk across it in 20 minutes or so. But we are intentional. Okay, so first of all, did you know the average American goes to Florence for 2.5 days, right? They're on one of these trips where we're going to see, northern Italy in 10 days. Like you're going to see all of northern Italy in 10 days. But what are you going to see, right? You're flying by. So what do they do
Wow.
in those 2.5 days in Florence? They often don't even leave the area around the dome, right? Around the Duomo.
Right. They're just
They just
there.
sort of, there's like this few block area, and all the tourists go, and all the money is spent there. So we are just across the river. I mean, this is a 8 to 10 minute walk. That's it. We're across the river, and we're there for a month. And our people, yeah, they go see the Duomo, they go see all the main things, the David statue. But over that month, they're out exploring. Like, where are these little mom
All
and
the
pop
other.
Italian restaurants and artisan
Yeah.
workshops? And they're spending their money in all these little places, and it's really cool. And so the mayor's like, we need more of that. So we are
Yeah.
actually have now a flagship building of like our apartments in Florence, and they really want to promote this as like an alternative to the type of
Yeah.
tourist
To the
Florence normally
traditional
does.
model of 2.5 days. That is a really interesting data point because this happens, but to really think about it that way, it's really, sad in a way that people can just fly through a place and not connect at all more. And there's people that live there and have lived there for so long that would love to share, I'm sure, more of their culture and their foods and cuisine and everything. It's a really, really incredible model that I can see, would be amazing and duplicated in other areas where yeah, there's just too much of that big scale tourism that you need to be able to have another alternative for people to be able to see and experience the place. So really, really incredible stuff, Andrew. I'm excited to see what you do with it and continue to grow it and build it into new destinations. And hopefully those on the call right now are emailing you right now, getting more information on where where to, because there's some awesome destinations. So Andrew, just to end it, where are you most excited about the future of travel? Where do you see it going? I know you're in this new evolution already, but what excites you right now?
What I think I'm most excited about is that the consumers of travel, our clients, are more
Hmm.
savvy today than they ever were before, right? Because the old school travel, just booking the tours and seeing the sites, which we do all the time. Like when I go somewhere, I want to see the sites too. I want to get a tour of the Sagrada Familia, cathedral. I want to get a tour. These are important things. Like if you want to learn and see things. There's nothing against traditional tour, but what has happened is it's become a commodity. Like every one of us can go on our phone and like go to open up any sort of booking platform and say, I want to go see a tour of this, a tour of that, tour of that. So you just do it, right? And all the suppliers are basically on the same platform. They're all competing on price. So they're making very little. The platform makes most of the money, da, 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 whatever. The point is that that stuff has become a commodity. And so our travelers are becoming more savvy and saying, okay, so if I'm going to actually book a multi-day tour or program of some kind, like um, it's it's sort of like they know there's more out there, right? So I think what I'm trying to get at is they're more intentional nowadays,
Yeah.
right? They're
Hmm.
more intentional, and that creates opening for organizations like Discover Corps, like the Good Life Abroad, to say, hey, if you have an intention, you want to do something a little bit different,
Yeah.
we're
Here we
here.
are.
We're here. Now, if
Hmm.
you want to do sort of the kind of the cookie cutter stuff, which is great, there's a time and a place for it. It's really easy to do, right? So I think the people who have been hurt are sort of more of the old school mainstream tourism operators. Probably took more of a hit, and now with people's intentionality and looking for more authenticity, more connection, more community, all these things, right? The more
Hmm.
is actually benefiting more intentional travel providers such as Discover Corps or the Good Life Abroad.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we're hopefully overall as a human race becoming more intentional with everything that we're doing, what we're eating, what we're putting into our bodies, but also how we're consuming travel, how are we engaging in this industry? And I hope to see it just continue to bleed into that trickle down effect that actually does benefit the community. So thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and your time, Andrew. I want to open it up for anyone. If anyone has any other questions, to please throw it in the chat. Um, it's been such a rich discussion learning about the early days of DC and where your head was at and now where you are today. I think it's such an incredible evolution. And I admire you so much as somebody who's been working in this field of travel and really advocating. I mean, when I met you in Cuba, it was very clear to me that the way that you engage with people is what you've tried to demonstrate in building what Discover Core is today. And it was really cool to see that unfold. I was like, this is why Discover Core is what it is and why I love working for DC as a company is it was founded by somebody who genuinely cares about the community and people that we're engaging with on those trips. And yeah, thanks for spending the time today, Andrew. It means a lot.
Thank you, Lynn. Appreciate having me.
Yeah, I think there's some questions now, so I will take those. Somebody did ask actually about the age range of Discover Core. Just mentioned that some of the pictures seemed a little young. So just to speak to that for Discover Core side of things, our biggest demographic is families, if we had to break it down by numbers, because we work with, again, as young as 6 years old, but we cap our kids' age at 16. So we see a lot of families travel with us, but our second biggest demographic is women over the age of 60, really, that actually engage in our experiences. There are naturally waves of trips that we see a lot more of those demographics naturally get fed into each other. And that's part of our job on the phones and speaking with you is letting you know who the demographic is on the trip currently, where people are coming from. We can share that kind of knowledge with you before you kind of get into the trip to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into when it comes to just overall group dynamics. And naturally, we've seen it we have a couple of all women's dates next year that are over the age of 60 that have come together naturally, like we didn't even advertise it, but that date gets it. And then other times we've gotten those requests. So if you have any questions about demographics, and I usually just say which destination are you looking at, and let's like open up the trip briefs and see who's in the trips and see who you could possibly have as your next best friend, because we have seen people travel together and then meet and want to travel on another Discover Core trip. So that has happened, and we love to see like-minded people come together on these experiences. Um, So somebody asked, like, so Discover Core is geared for the under 60 crowd? No, we're still geared towards the over 60 crowd. But as Andrew was saying, there's a key difference between how long you're staying in these places, and also the destinations are very different, I think, than what the Good Life abroad is currently doing. We have some perhaps overlap in the future, but the idea of Discover Core is really 6 to 10 day long experiences, not including extensions. So it can get up to 12, 14 days here and there. But we are a multi-generational friendly experience. But as mentioned, there's certain dates that we see naturally different demographics go into. When we see kids off school, we're going to see a lot of families in those dates naturally. But we have a lot of other options for those that are looking for a more adult sort of only experience. But we can discuss that more personally, depending on which destinations you're kind of exploring. Because we do have itineraries that are more catered towards families, and then we have sort of an alternative that's a little bit more for the adults. So thanks for those great questions and making sure we clarify that note because it's good for everyone to know that our experiences, while they are family friendly, they're also for adults too. So don't be intimidated. We're here to help fit you into the right trip. And that's literally my job is to spend time getting to know you as well and understanding your motives of travel and understanding what gets your fire going and what will be a wonderful trip for you to be able to experience. And I hope everyone knows they can reach out to me after this if you have any other questions as well. I think maybe one more in here.
There's
What
one in the
percentage of,
Q&A. Yeah.
oh yeah, please, Andrew.
I could take that one because I'm an
Okay,
RPCV myself.
okay.
And I would say in the early days, at least, it was probably about 25% of our travelers at Discover Corps were returned Peace Corps volunteers. That's what that acronym stands for. And
Mhm.
going in more recent days, I don't think we track that anymore. We don't ask people if they were Peace Corps or not.
No,
But we do have some trips with Discover Corps. I know that we do in partnership with the National Peace Corps Association. And so those
sorry.
people tend to primarily be returned Peace Corps volunteers. So in the early, there's definitely a strain of them who come to us because
I've
we
continued.
share common
Yeah,
values.
yeah. They're almost like the original alumni. We think of it, and often I'm on the phone and I'll see they've been on all these trips, and it's like, well, I used to be a Peace Corps volunteer, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. Definitely. Definitely. Thanks for the wonderful questions. And somebody just said, thanks for us and our enthusiasm, Andrew. So I guess we did a good job today in talking about why travel matters, meaningful travel. And that's the goal of these webinar series is to really, bring it back home to that and speak about these ways of engaging in the travel industry in more meaningful ways. And it's really, really incredible what you've been able to achieve in this lifetime for all of us to be able to engage in tourism in a better, more regenerative way. So thanks, Sandra, for your time again, and I hope to see you soon somewhere in the world.
Absolutely. Thank you for having
Awesome.
me. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone
Awesome.
for tuning in.
Talk to you soon, Andrew. Bye.
Bye.